Well, folks, we are here. 3 years later, finally confirming this trade that the Montreal Canadiens made in an absolute robbery type of deal. We've been alluding to this day for quite some time. As I had said, this has been in the making for 3 years. Okay, almost 3 years. We're coming up on 3 years in a matter of months, but this is a move that we have been talking about and revisiting over the course of the past few years, and with the conclusion of the 2025 NHL Draft Lottery yesterday, it's all come full circle, baby. Because today we are revisiting a trade made on August 18th, 2022. Where the Montreal Canadiens acquired Sean Monahan and a conditional first-round pick in 2025 from the Calgary Flames for future considerations. Now, here's the thing. In prior videos, we would go over the conditional first-round pick that the Habs ended up receiving, and we dived into all of the situations and scenarios. It was Monahan and a first for nothing. The Habs got Monahan for free and added on a draft pick to get him. Not to mention the fact that the Habs later traded Monahan himself for a first-round pick. Essentially, the Habs got 2 firsts for nothing. Okay, not nothing. Sean Monahan was fairly productive with the Canadiens, and he essentially revived his career in the National Hockey League. So it was a win-win-win for everybody involved. Calgary got out of the expensive deal that they had with Monahan. Montreal grabbed some first-round picks that they're going to be able to build their future with, and Monahan had himself a brand new chance at NHL success. But in the prior videos, we had been talking about the hypotheticals. Okay, here are the trade conditions. If Calgary's 2025 first and Florida's 2025 first are not in the top 10, Montreal receives the earlier of the 2 picks. If Calgary's 2025 first is top 10, then Montreal receives Florida's 2025 first. And this is all as of April 29th. So in prior iterations of these rules, we had even more stipulations to dive into depending on the top 10 status of the picks and everything, because the Matthew Tkachuk trade took place around the same time. So Calgary had these multiple firsts from Calgary and their own first in 2025, so they had to just kind of teeter around with the rules a little bit. But now, because Florida is in the second round of the 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs, and because Calgary had their own picks' future determined by the draft lottery yesterday, everything is all confirmed for the Montreal Canadiens. So, let's dive into it here, shall we? Via Tankathon.com, yesterday's draft lottery saw the Calgary Flames first-round pick stay in the 16th overall spot. As a result, it goes to Montreal. It's kind of funny because there was a chance that Calgary would have moved up to number 6 overall in the 2025 NHL Draft. They had 1 lottery ball remaining, and they had the opportunity to overtake all of these teams from 6 to 15. They ended up not doing that. They stuck around at 16, but if the Calgary Flames did end up winning a draft lottery like they had the chance to do with 1 lottery ball, then Montreal instead would have received Florida's first-round pick in 2025, which is currently projected at the 22nd overall spot. Because the Calgary Flames didn't get their lottery ball drawn yesterday to go up to 6th overall, Montreal is drafting 16 instead of 22. So that is perfect here. It's not surprising. The statistical odds saw that Montreal would probably get a realistic chance of drafting 16th because Calgary's pick wasn't really projected to moving anywhere, but it did have a slight chance. There was 1 more lottery ball that could have been drawn that would have allowed Calgary to get that move up in the draft. But now, because they didn't, the Montreal Canadiens have that 16th overall pick, and what's funny is the fact that they still have their own 2025 first-round pick which I think a lot of people won't be surprised to hear about, but it's the best pick out of all the playoff teams. It's 17th overall. So the Habs have back-to-back picks at number 16 and 17 in 2025's NHL Draft. The Habs, unfortunately, actually did have fewer points than the Calgary Flames this season, despite the fact that Calgary finished 16th in the draft lottery odds and Montreal finished 17th. Same with New Jersey. They had fewer points than Calgary as well, but it's just kind of interesting because that's how the conference divisional matchups work here, right? Calgary plays in a more difficult division and conference, and thus they were able to get more points. Meanwhile, New Jersey and Montreal squeaked into the playoffs, and they're just happy to be there as wildcard teams. So that's just kind of how that goes down. Montreal, though, back-to-back first-round picks. This is 3 years into the making with the Monahan trade from 2022. Win-win-win, all things considered, especially when you look at Monahan now. Had a great run with the Winnipeg Jets, had a great run with the Columbus Blue Jackets in his first season. In a season filled with tragedy in Columbus, Sean Monahan was one of the bright spots, along with Kirill Marchenko and Dmitry Voronkov. So, big ups to him for being able to revive his career, and big ups to Montreal for getting themselves another first-round pick to facilitate that movement. Now, I know what some of y'all might be thinking. The Habs have the 16th and the 17th overall picks in the 2025 NHL Draft. Who do they take? And that's honestly a question that I don't know. In prior years, I would have been able to give you an easy assessment. Oh yeah, the Montreal Canadiens should probably draft this guy, or they might be eyeing this other guy because of the tendencies that they have in these drafts, and the positional need should be considered as well when you're not necessarily at the top of the draft. But last year it was easy. Montreal drafted 5th overall. There were only 5 or 6 guys you could realistically choose from. Not to mention Macklin Celebrini, of course, being the unanimous 1st overall pick. But aside from that, Ivan Demidov was a clear option there, Cayden Lindstrom, Berkly Catton also being discussed as a Montreal guy. Ultimately, they went with Ivan Demidov and it was super great, but now it's like, yeah, the Canadiens aren't drafting 5th now. They're drafting 16th and 17th, so it'll be a lot more difficult to project whom it is the Habs set their sights on. And for me personally, because the Habs were in the playoff race the whole year, okay, I take that back. Maybe not the whole year, but for a good chunk of the year, because 3 of my favorite teams in Detroit, Montreal, and Vancouver were all hovering in the 15-ish middle range mark of the first round, I was like, yeah, I'm not really focusing on the prospects this year. We focus on them when there's actually people that want to listen to the prospect talk. This season was just not the season, considering all 3 of my favorite teams are a lot better than lottery status contending teams. That doesn't mean that I'm irresponsible for not making any prospect videos this season, but still, it is just kind of a lesser focus compared to prior years. So I'm right there with you, man. We're going to have to figure it out together, whom it is the Canadiens might be interested in drafting in back-to-back picks here. Even hotter take on the horizon, though. Do you think the Canadiens trade away one or both of these picks in a package deal to get a second-line center? Bo Horvat, come on down. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.